better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Wednesday morning, the 11th day of September, 2013. And a little bit ago, you heard David Letterman talking about the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And that was recorded, that was his first show after the 9/11 attacks, I believe about a week later. And I tell you, it took a long time to get things back to somewhat of a sense of normalcy. But I don't think we'll ever completely recover from that. At least I know I won't. But life does go on, and we do the best we can. It's time for a look at yesterday's market numbers. So let's head on down to Market Street and find out how well we did. Closing gold and silver report for yesterday. Let's see here. First of all, the gold price retreated yesterday as Syrian officials conceded to international pressure to cease production on and release the location of its chemical weapons. With the imminent fear of military conflict diminished, the safe haven appeal of precious metals was temporarily quelled. For now, investors continue to digest U.S. economic data to determine the Federal Reserve's course of action regarding quantitative easing in next week's Federal Open Market Committee meeting. Since it appears that the stimulus tapering is forthcoming, the main questions analysts are asking concern the timing of the announcement, the scale of reduction, and the impact on domestic markets. U.S. stocks continued their upward trend yesterday as the S&P 500 extended its winning streak to its longest since July. The news from Syria is positive, and we had decent economic data out of China. That's according to Gary Flam, a portfolio manager at Bel Air Investment Advisors, LLC. Investors came into September cautiously positioned, but one by one by one their concerns are being removed or lessened. Investors and analysts will continue to eye negotiations with Syria in the upcoming FMOC meeting for further indications as the market progresses. And that's a brief summary of market information. For some reason, I don't have the Dow Jones numbers and all that, but you probably already know them anyway. What I do have, though, is more market information from APM Radio. Take care of that right now. Then we'll have the CBS World News Roundup. What's trending on Twitter, what's on TV tonight, and a very special Song of the Day coming up, all in a matter of minutes. Right now, though, let's get off of Market Street and find out what's going on at APM. On the Morning Report, you're listening to First Cup.
This Marketplace podcast is supported by Squarespace, providing creative tools to help bring your ideas to life online. Squarespace offers beautiful templates, customizable designs, 24/7 support, and free domain names. Learn more at squarespace.com, promo code APM.
Syria, Russia, and the economic ties that bind, plus one man's fascinating trajectory after Lehman Brothers imploded 5 years ago. From APM in New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the global perspective on business and economics. In a nationwide address, President Obama has asked Congress to postpone a vote on using force in Syria. For now, it's about diplomacy, as the international community explores ways Syria might turn over control of its chemical weapons arsenal.
I've ordered our military to maintain their current posture, to keep the pressure on Assad, and to be in a position to respond if diplomacy fails.
The possibility of turning over the chemical arms was brokered by Russia, Syria's biggest protector. Rachel Dornhelm looks into how much that former superpower has invested in Syria.
Syria was one of the Soviet Union's big allies during the Cold War. Russia still has a Navy installation there. But the Carnegie Endowment's Andrew Weiss says the base isn't much of an investment.
It's really basically a glorified gas station that can handle 4 or 5 ships max.
The Woodrow Wilson Center's Matthew Rajansky says Russia's stake in Syria is about geostrategy more than economics. That's a change from 2 years ago, Rajansky says, when Russia was still hoping to recoup billions of dollars Syria owes it from arms and infrastructure deals.
I think all bets are off on whether that's going to be paid now, and I think what's changed dramatically is the relative importance of those debts versus other interests and equities that Russia has at stake in Syria.
Rajansky says Russia could still stand to benefit financially if its efforts to avoid a U.S. strike sow goodwill ahead of the many rebuilding contracts that come at the end of civil war. I'm Rachel Dornhelm for Marketplace.
Now let's do the numbers. After a sharp dip yesterday, the price of crude oil is up about 0.25% today using the Texas benchmark. The European benchmark is up 0.9% this morning. S&P futures are down slightly. NASDAQ futures are down more. Apple's shares are down another 2% in pre-market trading today after falling yesterday. Apple unveiled a cheaper $99 plastic iPhone and an upgraded flagship iPhone with fingerprint recognition and a faster processor. In London, the FT100 is now down 0.1%.
Show Marketplace how much you like us. Stay connected to our hosts, reporters, and top stories on Facebook. Find us at facebook.com/APM Marketplace.
This week we're looking back at the collapse of the investment bank Lehman Brothers, which went bust 5 years ago this coming weekend. That was the moment when the horror set in that the unraveling of the real estate boom had triggered the worst financial disaster since the stock market crash of 1929. We'll be examining the lessons from various angles in the next few days. Today, it's the former Lehman executive who left Wall Street for good.
You need caulking, you need some outlet that doesn't work, there's tiling that's broken, there's a mailbox you need to have installed.
Silicon caulking, ceramic tiling. 5 years ago, David Ambinder was Senior Vice President of Global Business Support Services at Lehman Brothers. 500 people reported to him. He worked in Lehman's fancy building in Midtown Manhattan amid stints of international travel. Now, 53-year-old Ambinder runs a successful Mr. Handyman franchise headquartered over Aliperti's Italian restaurant in suburban New Jersey. You need a toilet replaced or some new countertop, he's the man, although his team of 7 does the hands-on. Ambinder's the boss. Are you any good at fixing stuff yourself?
No, I'm terrible. You never want me in your house. But, I think my skill set is more aligned with being a good manager, being someone who's well-versed in marketing, well-versed in financial management, and building a business. And when I was at Lehman or Goldman or Solomon in my financial career, I was always in positions where I managed areas that I didn't know a lot about and sort of loved the challenge of learning new things. And, that challenge certainly was here.
But you must have been smart enough to leave Lehman with some kind of seed capital, some kind of savings to start a business.
Well, I worked on Wall Street for a long time, and I think of myself as a fairly conservative person in the way I live my actual life. So when Lehman went under, it was certainly a financial blow because obviously the stock, which you get paid in a large percentage of your pay, was worth nothing. But, I had a savings, and we decided that this was worth the risk. And regardless of what everyone told me, I did it anyway.
Did you get buy-in from your spouse on this?
If you look at this move, I recognize that it's somewhat drastic and it's somewhat very, very different what typically you see people doing. So my wife, who is just incredibly supportive, I recall initially is like looking at me like I'm a little crazy, but I had both my kids in college.
Right as 2008 is happening.
Yeah, it all converged. So, I had to kind of make decisions very quickly, I thought, in order to make sure that as this whole thing unraveled, I would have some way of creating income. And I didn't think it was in banking anymore because I thought the consolidation was too much. And I thought that the landscape was going to change related to how people were paid on Wall Street where, maybe it wasn't worth it anymore.
If another boom started building in financial services in New York, would you leave this career at Mr. Handyman and start going back into the city and work in banking again, do you think?
It's a question that I've actually thought about, but I could never see myself on that train to Manhattan anymore.
Why do you think, David? Why?
You know, I had great opportunities while I was on Wall Street. I did amazing things, but I can't do them again. I don't want to relive them. I want to try new things. And there are some people who are very uncomfortable with change. I have to be more comfortable and almost seek change in the things that I do.
We spoke in the town of Clark, New Jersey. David Ambinder was named Mr. Handyman Franchisee of the Year in 2011. We'll be pulling together all of our coverage timed to the collapse of Lehman 5 years ago, including reverberations felt in Ireland, Iceland, and Latvia. You can check marketplace.org as the week goes on. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
One of my first memories is of Martin Luther King being shot. I was 5. And if you wonder if this feeling will pass, when I was 5 and he was shot, here's what I remember about it. I was in a school in Trenton, and they shut the lights off, and we got to sit under our desks. And we thought that was really cool. And they gave us cottage cheese, which was a cold lunch because there was rioting. But we didn't know that. We just thought, my God, we get to sit under our desks and eat cottage cheese. And that's what I remember about it. And that was a tremendous test of this country's fabric, and this country's had many tests before that and after that. And the reason I don't despair is because this attack happened. It's not a dream. But the aftermath of it, the recovery, is a dream realized. And that is Martin Luther King's dream. Whatever barriers we put up are gone, even if it's just momentary. And we're judging people by not the color of their skin, but the content of their character. And you know, all this talk about these guys are criminal masterminds. They've gotten together and their extraordinary guile and their wit and their skill. It's a lie. Any fool can blow something up. Any fool can destroy. But to see these guys, these firefighters, these policemen, and people from all over the country, literally with buckets, rebuilding, that's extraordinary. And that's why we've already won. They can't, it's light. It's democracy. We've already won. They can't shut that down. They live in chaos. And chaos, it can't sustain itself. It never could. It's too easy and it's too unsatisfying. The view from my apartment was the World Trade Center. And now it's gone. And they attacked it. This symbol of American ingenuity and strength and labor and imagination and commerce, and it is gone. But you know what the view is now? The Statue of Liberty. The view from the south of Manhattan is now the Statue of Liberty. You can't beat that.
President Obama welcomes new Syria effort.
This initiative has the potential to remove the threat of chemical weapons without the use of force.
Syria resolution in Congress.
To make sure any international agreement is enforceable.
12 years after the 9/11 attacks.
Families again gather here at Ground Zero.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kathan with the CBS World News Roundup. President Obama made his case to the American people that Syria should be punished for using chemical weapons. But in his much anticipated speech to the nation, he made it clear Congress should hold off on a vote